before we get to Atlanta United, there was a big report that was released yesterday. Carmen was unable to work because she was reading through 50 pages of documentation of the Greg Berhalter report, which was done by which law firm or some?
Austin Bird did the
Austin
report.
Bird. Okay.
I think so. Yeah.
So I know, Carmen, what was your initial take as you read through all these pages?
It was a lot of reading to basically say a couple of things, which is we're finding that Berhalter should not have assaulted his ex-girlfriend, but it was
shocking
30 years ago, so we can't do anything about it.
Right.
So he can be hired again. Or it's not a legal risk.
Yeah. There was never any charges or police involved.
Yeah.
So it was never on the record. Yeah.
Yeah. So basically they couldn't really find anything besides the,
but also nothing new, right? Like
he
already admitted to that and said,
apparently they both admitted to it the next day.
Right.
To their coaches. Right. Yeah. Both of them.
So while a terrible event for the Berhalters and inexcusable for Greg Berhalter, immediate recognition, when it was brought up and when it was leaked that they didn't try to hide anything, and they've been married 30 years and that seemed like something that they were okay with in their own lives that they had moved past. So
yeah,
we all knew that, right? So there was nothing new per se, right? Like was there any other details on other potential incidents or something?
Nothing about any other incidents. It was all that incident. And the incident was isolated. It happened that one night. They both told their college coaches. The college coaches said, we're glad you reported it, but they didn't do anything.
Yeah.
But I have to admit, it did sound more serious than I thought it was originally. Like when they started, like I kicked her in her legs, I was almost thinking like sibling kick fights,
No.
But he knocked her. I mean, she hit him. He knocked her down, pushed her, and then kicked her.
Yeah.
Where a stranger was walking by and had to tackle him to get him to stop. And then she left.
How hard did she hit him? I'm just curious. Was that reported?
They didn't necessarily say how hard, but it seemed like they said a scratch at one point, a hit and a scratch. But they were.
I'm just asking because women can be mean too. Is all I'm saying. I mean, I'm just gonna in a fair society. I'm just saying, was there any abuse for him? Like, I'm just asking.
I mean, he was hit first. I don't necessarily know how hard, and they were both drunk, admittedly drunk.
Yeah.
And apparently, he's a little jealous because she had been dancing with a football player. But it sounds like every athlete at UNC knew about it.
Yeah.
But he did seem to be very contrite afterwards. He got counseling. He volunteered. He stayed away from her, made an effort to stay away.
And there hasn't been any smoke signal since.
Nothing. Everybody said nothing they could find.
Just to clear that, inexcusable behavior, right? To do anything like that. And so now the report shifts to the Reyna family, no?
Just very hard right to the Reyna family. And it was interesting because I didn't know that was necessarily being investigated. It sounds like they started off with, we're going to investigate Berhalter, see if this has happened. And then they're like, and we asked them also to look into whether there was any impropriety in terms of, the Reyna's relationship and the report that they made. And that was worse than I thought it was.
I think Claudio should be careful what he's wishing for there with some more minutes for his son, because he really poked the wrong tiger there.
Yeah. And the fact, the stuff they were reporting went back to 2016.
Yeah.
So
before
7 years. He was like 13 years old.
So some of the things he was doing were pre Greg Berhalter being appointed the U.S. men's national team coach. That was suspect in terms of how he was trying to influence the U.S. soccer leadership and the U.S. Soccer Federation. A lot of, pushing around in terms of his opinions and emails, right?
Yeah. Asking for red cards to be taken away from Gio so he could play.
Right.
So the statement about we need to get good refs, why we have women refs out here, we need to take this seriously. I guess they're
nice.
Just things clearly trying to influence U.S.
But during
soccer.
that time, correct me if I'm wrong, the Berhalters and the Reynas were still, having Christmases together and such.
Best friends. They even said, I can't remember the year it was, where Reyna was being interviewed to be either the technical director or general manager of U.S. Soccer. One of the questions they asked him, who do you think should be the next U.S. men's national team coach? And he said Greg Berhalter.
Right.
So this is, he suggested that Berhalter be the
And
U.S.
what's
national
interesting,
coach.
is nothing. So, I mean, that's the gist, right? Everybody's probably read. We don't need to recap too many of the quotes, right? That were kind of out there in terms of like you said, in terms of, taking certain qualifying games or whatever seriously with proper refereeing, and then having a sexist statement added into that. Also, his email to who's the previous McBride,
yeah.
right,
Mhm.
was pretty scathing in terms of just showing just how out of his mind he kind of was when he was emailing some of these things to somebody who's a former player, and just what his overall opinion was of the U.S. Soccer Federation in general. I guess is more of the point. There is Claudio didn't think highly of the leadership in U.S. soccer.
Well, nobody does. that means something that he might have gotten right.
Yeah.
I mean, well, I think to me,
well, even and I don't mean to be. This is where I think him being sexist, it was wrong, right? Like maybe his point was right. We need better refereeing. I don't know whether that I haven't seen the game, right? And whether it was good refereeing or not, right? So he could be completely wrong. One thing I will say is I do believe refereeing in general in the US and in MLS needs an upgrade, right? But that has more to do with training and it has nothing to do with gender, right?
Right.
And
For
so
sure.
that is a problem, right? So it's about the way he's phrasing things. It's about tackling.
Criticize the ref, but why do you have to point out that she's a woman? What does
Correct.
that have to do with
Correct.
anything?
And
right? Bad ref is a woman.
A
Great
bad
ref is a woman. Right? Come on.
That is my point, right? And so I haven't seen the game that he's talking about. So maybe it was bad refereeing. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe he's total sexist. If it wasn't bad refereeing, I don't know. I think overall, though, I think it's just a really bad look for the Reyna family in general. And does this distract Gio's play? I think it has to, at least in the near term, right?
So Gio just got called up again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
By the way, in the newest squad, he just got named yesterday. So it didn't cause him to be dropped. You might have thought that, the interim coach might have said, hey, let's have a little bit of a break, but no.
And he's had 3 goals at Dortmund since the incident.
He's had some mixed things. All 3 goals were off the bench.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like he's killing it.
No, I mean, he's scoring, but I mean, to me, I think the biggest take home here, besides the personalities and the fact that the Reynas may not be the best people to know, but the biggest thing here is what in the world is U.S. soccer still like a group of like 20 former U.S. nationals, right?
Yeah.
There are so much more, for example, a Gareth Lagerwey, right? Who is the MLS, director of the year multiple times, right? Why isn't he being considered for U.S. soccer director or that kind of thing?
Another thing I just want to say after the report, I feel like, Greg Berhalter can't be that dumb. He knows he's not going to get rehired, right? His contract is up. This report put him in the best light possible, given nothing new, right? From the damage that was already done a couple of months ago, right? Why does Berhalter not take the high road here and say, I am not going to take the job, even if they were to offer it to me, and just look better in terms of saying, hey, I want what's best for U.S. soccer? Why wouldn't that be his approach right now with this report being released? If I were him, that's the road I would go down.
You know why?
Why?
Because there's a 50-50 chance that he still ends up as coach.
No way.
Yes, there is.
No,
in my opinion.
Shut up. I need what button do I press for that?
Put him in a straitjacket.
Is that one?
Somebody should put a straitjacket on this.
Somebody should put a straitjacket, because you cannot be correct.
I shouldn't be correct.
But no, okay.
That's madness.
But
wait a second.
You're a scientist. You're into research. Let's break this down for us.
So Cindy,
Parlow
Cone, who is the whole head of the U.S. Soccer Federation now.
Yeah.
Her statement was, he's still very much in consideration now that he's been exonerated.
But then she needs to be fired too.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, that's what I think. That's the problem. That's my point.
Holy cow.
Nothing has changed about U.S. soccer. We had an incident. We might have repercussions for individuals or whatever, but nobody has pointed out the bigger problem that caused this. The fact that you have, guys who are running the program, all of whom played together, the 3 of them, and nobody from the outside, nobody anything.
Yeah, but Cindy's saying the right thing. She has to say that legally.
I don't think so.
Yes, she does.
I wouldn't. She doesn't have to say that.
Yeah, that's what the lawyers are telling me. Like, make sure you say that Greg is still in the candidacy because they have to.
I mean, I feel like there
Correct?
was probably something worked out to say. I mean, because otherwise, there'd be no way you say that. Now, granted, I'd almost say he's eligible, maybe not in consideration, because that means we're actually considering him to be a coach.
Well, now that we're mincing words, eligible and considered.
I'm just saying, if a lawyer was involved,
yeah,
I'd be like,
oh, I know how the general counsel works when they're like, really, that word is a synonym for this word, but you prefer that word. I get it, but come on. I really believe that there is less than a 0.01% chance that Greg Berhalter is going to be reappointed.
Okay, if that's the case, then you'll take a one-sided bet, which is
I will
if he
take
gets
any bet
reappointed, then you owe me a really nice bottle of wine.
You heard it here on ATL on Fire. And not only that, like, I mean, literally, like, we're talking a really nice, we're going to celebrate like it's 2026 World Cup.
Honestly, I think if I had to,
I was going to say 1999, like Prince, but
yeah.
It's
like
just, I remember that when we were younger, and that was the future.
Yeah.
That was the future. And now I got to go to the World Cup 2026. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, no, what I would say is to be honest with you, if I was a betting person and I had to slightly lean on the over-under, I think the over is on they bring him back.
No.
Because people are also talking about all the conversation that I've heard out of U.S. soccer and even publicly, Twitter, etc., is about how he earned such a thing. You know, he earned the right to stay on. This was an unfortunate thing that happened. He was exonerated.
There's no way it's going to happen.
I agree with you, but
with the women's WSL, NWSL, to bring back somebody who, whatever was 30 years ago, was never brought to the police. It is not going to happen, Dave. It would be suicide for men's soccer to do that.
I agree with you
because of where we are in the political lens of things and where women's soccer is right now.
I tell you, if it happens and you have to get me this spectacular bottle of wine, I'm probably going to chug it and fall over. That's how upset I'm going to be. I agree with you 100%. It would be absolute freaking madness. It would be horrible. I mean, at every level, for what we think about women, for soccer, but not getting rid of the structure of US, it'd be horrible at every level.
But you're right in terms of the thinking of like, why would you think madness would change, right? The definition of insanity, which U.S. men's soccer seems to be doing, is over and over and over again.
Nothing has fundamentally changed about U.S. soccer, right? When we talk a lot about tactics, right? And it's sometimes like, it's sort of that idea that if you diagnose just the actual little problem, you see it here and you fail to see the big picture and you don't actually fix the structural problem, you can fix this and this and this all you want and you'll never go away.